think we're good to go now. So, hello everybody, and welcome to our final webinar of our four-part mini-series called One Step Ahead in Lab. Last time we looked at the filter side of the tobacco industry and talked about the capsule detection. Today we will still be talking about the filter side, but we will be focusing on a different type of filter, namely the multi-segment filter. We will show you what our technology can do for you and how using it can be beneficial when checking different types of multi-segment filters. So yes, filter segment is the topic for today. And who is we? So who is talking to you today? As always, I'm not alone, but I'm joined by my colleague and expert on this topic, Roger Braat, who will, as usual, definitely have all the questions to our answers, not only to my questions, but also to your questions after we finished our presentation. So I think with that being said, let's just dive into it. And Roger, my first question is more of a general one, especially for all the viewers who have not joined our last webinar. So basically, how exactly are we even able to analyze cigarettes or filters or detect differences inside? So what is the secret with our technology?
We measure the moisture and the density of the cigarette or filter rod by microwaves, and usually we have two parameters: the water content and the density, the weight per centimeter of rod, tobacco rod or filter rod. Today we're talking about charcoal filters and segment filters built out of charcoal segments and capsule segments.
Let me have another question here before we dive too deep. What we talked about multi-segment filters, but what kind of filters are there? Is there any special filters, any interesting filters, any interesting combinations that you can maybe show me or tell me about?
The development of multi-segment filters, I think, started with the development of, or the application of charcoal inside the filter of a cigarette tip. We find inside in the single filter of the cigarette, we might have a charcoal section, a section with a capsule, and all these are made of different pieces, first assembled in a filter rod, and later, of course, cut to single pieces and attached to cigarettes.
Okay, looking at this picture here, Roger, what kind of combinations, the multi-segment filters, would you show me here? I think on the right side are the multi-segment filters, right? Are there any special combinations you can show me?
There are multiple combinations. I'd like to show you, if you can show to the next picture, a sample for a filter which consists of charcoal sections and capsule sections.
Okay.
This is a sample of the measurement. In the past, we couldn't measure charcoal inside the filter because the return signal from the microwave was much different to what we know for capsules and for tobacco. As you can see on this result, we have very high signals at the left, in the center, and at the right, which corresponds to the charcoal areas. And between them, you see small little bumps. These are the high peaks we know from the capsule measurement. So to put everything into one picture and still distinguish them, we changed our way of measurement to adapt to the charcoal. And that's the new development which we made for the charcoal, and then of course for the segment, including charcoal.
Okay, so that means basically that a couple of years back we were not able to measure charcoal in filters or charcoal filters, but now we developed a new technique to also measure the charcoal segments, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. And then I have, now after talking about the basics, I would like to know what exactly does customers want to see when they measure multi-segment filters? So what do they want to know about them, and or in other words, what can our device show them?
Here we see the spec of the same kind of filter which we saw as a result in the last page. So the customer usually has a specification for the length of each piece of,
So those are the segments, right?
this combination rod. Yeah. So, and inside the red areas we have capsules, which also have a certain designed position inside, in the middle of that piece of filter tow.
Yeah.
So we are going to measure the length of the segments, the position of the capsules, which we could measure before already, and we still combined with the new arrangement of filter, and the amount of charcoal used inside the charcoal sections. So we have a length measurement, position measurement, and a weight measurement.
Okay, so that would be one of the result tables, right? What exactly can we see here? Can you tell me that?
So in the left column, we see we have 5 segments in sample number 1, and I measured 2 different pieces, one after another. So the bottom 5 rows are for the second filter rod.
Okay.
And in the center, you can see the length of each segment. Those 12.7 is quite much the 12 millimeter of the left side segment, which we saw on the previous page. We have the around 30 millimeter piece where 2 capsules are placed. Later, they will be cut in the center to separate the filter from the others. Then we have around 24 millimeter piece of charcoal again, 2 times 12 millimeter, which are also cut later. Then we have another 30 millimeter with 2 capsules, and we have another 12 millimeter at the end of the rod with charcoal again. And for these charcoal, so in the first, third, and fifth row, we can see, like the right side content, we have 74 and 90 and 764 I think milligram of charcoal particles inside this length of charcoal filter section.
Okay. So we can measure or determine the length of each segment as well as the place of the capsule, of course. That's what we talked about last week also. And we can measure or determine the amount of charcoal in the segment. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So from my understanding, that means that we need a charcoal segment as a border to basically measure the rest of the segments. Is that right?
Again, please.
We need a segment full of charcoal to determine the other segments of the filter. For example, we need charcoal capsules so we can determine the length of each segment.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good to know. And we're talking about samples and filter rods and all that. Is it only possible to measure filter rods, or can we also measure like finished cigarettes who already have a filter or multi-segment filter attached to them?
Of course. Like the development of the capsules before was followed by an integration of capsules inside the finished cigarettes. And also here we showed now the sample for a segment filter rod with no tobacco, but for multiple filters together in one 10 millimeter piece of filter rod. And of course, we also measure a cigarette with a segment filter in the tip. So this all can be selected in the brand setting.
Okay, so the customer just has to be careful with the brand setting. So if he measures filter rods, he has to choose it accordingly in the settings. And if he chooses
segment filter,
yeah. All right. Okay.
The other one is on the right, bottom right is cigarette with segments.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. So two ways for the customer to measure these filters. All right. Okay. I think that's it for now. Thanks again, Roger. Thanks for all the information and the answers to my questions. And of course, now we have some time for the viewers. If they have questions, please use the chat function. Just ask all your questions you have, and we're trying to answer all of them. So please don't be shy and just write us your questions. Okay, I got one question here. Okay, Roger. So is there a minimum distance between the charcoal segment and the capsule that is necessary?
As you've seen in the first picture, the capsule is quite close to the high-rise shoulder to the caps to the charcoal, and so if it's too close to the edge, it will disappear in this high-rise shoulder. So we have a minimum distance of, I think, 4 or 5 millimeter distance between the charcoal and the next capsule.
Okay, good to know. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, here's another question. Can you measure cigarette with filters and filter rods in one run? So maybe mix like finished cigarettes with filters attached and filter rods. Is that possible to?
No, you shouldn't mix samples of different brands in one measurement, because they don't have a common specification. So first you need to select the right brand settings from our library, and then you can measure a batch of only this kind of sample. Mixing doesn't make sense because we don't automatically switch specifications during the measurement.
Okay, so choose the specifications and stick to it. So let me just click here. Okay, so yeah, we are now at the end of our final webinar. And of course, there are a lot of different things we could have talked about in this series, but we really wanted to focus on the main applications and what we thought would be the most important topics for you guys. As we said, we already have 3 other webinars, and if you would like to, take a look at them, just visit our TEWS Academy website, and then you can find all the recordings there. I think there are some interesting topics for all of you. So if you have interest, please go ahead and visit the website. If not, if you have any questions or anything else, you of course feel free to contact us directly. I think our contact information are now in the chat box. So that is not a problem. We definitely love to help you guys with everything you need. So feel free. And I think now it's time to say thank you. Thanks for joining, and also thanks to you guys who maybe joined more than one webinar. We really appreciated that. And as soon as we have new dates or maybe new topics for webinars, we will let you know on our LinkedIn page. So stay tuned, and thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.